So 3 o'clock sharp, so good afternoon and welcome to our webinar, Challenging Times for Finance and Controlling, Dashboards, Augmented Analytics and Planning. My name is Christoph Kurzke, and together with my colleague Roland Merz, we together will guide you through this webinar. Next slide. Before we start, just a few administrative topics. The webinar will take approximately 45 minutes. Please feel free to ask questions via the chat function, and we will be happy to answer your questions right away or afterwards after the webinar. In order to avoid background noises, all participants will be muted automatically during the whole sessions, and the download link for the presentation will be sent to you after the webinar via email. Before we start again, let me introduce CubeServ Group for all the participants who don't have heard of us or don't know us yet. CubeServ is a consulting company focusing on analytics and business intelligence. Our head office is in Rapperswil, Switzerland. We do have offices in Germany, Austria, and Croatia. CubeServ was founded 20 years ago, and as mentioned, we have a clear focus on the SAP Analytics and Business Intelligence portfolio, and we are SAP Gold Partner. Next slide, please. Throughout the years, we were able to finish over 5,000 national and international BI and analytics projects for our customers. Right now, we are about 130 consultants working throughout the CubeServ Group. CubeServ supports you in the whole analytics journey, from strategy and processes to implementation to operation with best practices know-how. Next slide, please. A lot of, excuse me, we do not focus on any specific industry or lines of businesses. We throughout the next slides, you can see an excerpts from our customers. A lot of mandates focus on controlling and finance topics. This is one of the reasons we set up this webinar today. Next slide, please. And I will now hand over to Roland. He will show you or introduce you to some of the challenges that people working in the finance and controlling area face today, and why we think that SAP Analytics Cloud might support you with these questions. Roland, it's up to you.
Thank you, Christoph, for the introduction. Welcome to everybody. I assume all or most of you also sit in the home office as we do, so it's different times, new situations, but I think challenging time for finance and controlling. There are always challenging times, but right now maybe a bit special, a bit other focus on it. So the agenda here, I'd just like to start with a few challenges and the status quo. Then I'll give you a short introduction to the Analytics Cloud on slides, but then I like really to show you one part of the SAP Analytics Cloud live on our systems, then some conclusion and an outlook on our future webinars, also on our services. The numbers here, or the results here, are the results of a study by the Hacker Group, which was made in 2019. It was a global study with lots of companies participated. So we see here the enterprise goals which finance must support. Of course, we have on top one, the enterprise digital transformation. I'm sure all of you have one or another or lots of projects which bear the title or which have in the description that it's a digital transformation. Then the other one we have here on the third rank is enterprise data and analytics. That's, let's say, that's our where we work most of the time. And then, of course, if you have these goals which finance must support, we come to the question, how does finance respond to that? And here I like to get your focus bottom right, the critical development zone. We need to improve the analytical capabilities in finance controlling. We have to take advantage of new technologies and deployment models. This can be a new ERP, this can be new processes, this can be robotics, offshoring, nearshoring. There's a lot of topics around this area. Then, of course, if you want to take advantage of new finance technologies, we need to look at our platforms. They might be in need of modernization. And then if you want to work with new technology, with a more modern application or new application platform, then we come to the question of skills, talents, which are needed in the finance controlling. Maybe the controllers need to have some data scientist know-how, maybe not. That depends a lot also on your organization. And yeah, let's not forget the organization, the processes. So it's not just a matter of software tools. It's also always a matter, along with the software tools, also to look at the processes, to look at the people involved and how you can make most out of it. And then the last one here, improve function agility. Yeah, everything shall be agile nowadays. We switched, most of our projects nowadays are running in agile methodology with very good success. And especially now, if you see then dashboarding, analytical reporting, that's a perfect field for agile projects to move here very fast and to see results. Then this one here, this might also be a nice slide for the discussion, which you can have internal or together with us. We have here on the left side, we have the customer or your customer from finance controlling. Let's say that's a corporate management. They have an ask. So they need information. They don't know why it takes so long, or they don't understand it. Maybe they just saw the numbers that they invested 5 million for new software and it still takes long to get the numbers out of it. They might not really know what controlling could do. They want to have data from more operational sources, not just from maybe from the ERP. And especially also nowadays, they need timely forward-looking insights. I mean, we are all experts in looking in the rear mirror and discuss about last month's numbers. Why is the net revenue down? Why is contribution margin not where it should be, etc. But I think the real questions also for management is, how is it going to look like in the next 2 months, in the next 2 weeks, maybe even right now? What new regulations are coming out in the next months, etc. And how does this have an impact on my company? And there we need tools and systems and also processes again, which are fast, which are rather easy to handle, because we cannot go into a 3 months planning loop for the next forecast. It's just not possible anymore, and it's also not state of the art anymore. And then the last one here, wish they could get value-added analysis. That also means get more information, get more input out of the numbers. So that's the expectation what they have. Then on the right side, we have the controlling, the provider. The controlling has an offer, but they also have issues to deliver on that. You or they run around to gather data, reconciling data. We all know that numbers don't match because we have 2 different data sources. Then what's happening if the data don't match? Export to Excel, copy paste to Word or PowerPoint, then maybe a small adjustment. So you run around with a lot of Excel sheets or spreadsheets. There's a challenge to bring multiple data sources together. There we might have issues with data quality, master data. Then let's say as a result of above, yeah, let's just replicate last month's reporting. Let's not try to put in something new because that gets complicated again. And anyway, we are out of time already. So like every month, more or less the same reporting package which is delivered, maybe even with the same comments on it. And then at the end of the day, of course, it's a poor use of controlling resources, because controlling could do much more and not just adding numbers together and be experts in copy and paste those into PowerPoint slides. Then in the middle, we have, let's say, the problem. So the customer, the management, they don't really know what capability is around. The providers, you don't have the bandwidth to really analyze the business. I mean, I always say to really do what controlling is all about. Look at the numbers, get insights in the numbers and comment on them, or give maybe also strategic advice, be a business partner, live up to the business partner role and give advice to the management what they should do, so they have really good good reports, good analysis to go on to strategic initiatives and know what they should do, how to steer the company. And then what we see very often if we talk to clients, and for many years, that this is normally more or less out of balance. So ask and offer is not balanced and there are issues in the company. Then, sorry, if we move to the analytics part, advanced analytics, here I also can recommend you take this slide. You might want to discuss this with your management, with your CIO, with your business intelligence department. Would also be interesting to see where the people think you are in the company with your solutions. If we start from the left with the descriptive, as I mentioned before, we are all very good in showing what happened last month, last quarter. We know how to do this. Let's say the traditional reporting, we have tools for ad hoc reporting. So there, I think most companies are safe, are fit, maybe not up to the latest technology, might be a bit dated what's happening here, but we have the numbers. Then on the next one, diagnostic, why did it happen? Already gets a bit more difficult. Do we have data mining in place? How good is our visualization? For example, do I have geo-reporting in place, or do I just have tables? Then predictive, what if analysis, simulations. Then we talk about predictive modeling. Let's say, I mean, everybody dreams, of course, that the system tells me what is happening in the next 3 months, and my job is done. As if I'm, for example, responsible for the forecast, the system shall tell me what's going to happen. Advanced statistics. So in other words, yeah, what will happen? And I think even a bit more difficult is then how can we make it happen? I mean, of course, we can start strategic initiatives, but that's more the idea of how can the tool or how can a solution support this? How can they help me with machine learning, with AI, automated decision? Where's the support here? So, and that's of course interesting here to see where which company stands. My experience normally is on the far left side, everybody can tick the box. And then on the other 3 pillars, the diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive, there are some ticks. We do a proof of concept here, we do some testing there, but it's not really all done in one go. And especially if we talk then a bit more and ask a bit more, we see that there are a lot of different systems involved, a lot of media breaks, Excel, freeware tools, etc., is being used to get some ideas here on this advanced analytics. And there, SAP with the SAP Analytics Cloud has a solution which covers all 4 pillars of this. Then if you start working with the Analytics Cloud, we believe that you can really transform your controlling also. It's also a matter of tool and processes again. But just if you start with SAP Analytics Cloud, really try to maximize the use of it. So leverage the full potential of it. And of course, SAP offers you also leverage of your existing reporting tools, which, for example, BW queries, which you can reuse in the SAP Analytics Cloud. And if you have your management reporting in place, you have a good database for forecasting, for planning, and on to consolidation and statutory reporting. Consolidation is not part of the SAP Analytics Cloud. However, the solution, which is called SAP Group Reporting, is very tightly tightly interacting with the SAP Analytics Cloud for the whole reporting part. And we are actually just talking to a partner. We might do a webinar on group reporting and consolidation together with SAC in this respect. Sorry. So if you move on to the SAP Analytics Cloud now, we leave a bit the business topics. Let's now have a look at the tool. I like to focus here on the middle here on the analytic capabilities. We have the SAP Analytics Cloud is as the name already said, it's a cloud solution. It runs in the SAP Computing Center. So you don't have any investment in hardware. The only thing you need is a browser and a login. So business intelligence part here is fully covered in it. You can do your charts, tables. You have geo-reporting in it. Then planning, it supports planning. It also supports value driver trees. And this is very business focused. So that's one thing which the business can do. And important to understand is the SAP Analytics Cloud was developed from scratch. So we as CubeServ, we were very lucky. We were in the first initial phase together with SAP and one customer where we started to develop the SAC. The focus was always to build a tool for the business, not to build a tool for IT. And this you can see in the tool also how it's working, how it's built up. It's easy to use. That's always the focus. Then we have predictive part and analytics designer. So maybe predictive depends a bit. There's one part of predictive, which I will also address in the next webinar about augmented analytics, which is easy to use for every business user. But of course, if you go into predictive models, you might want to talk to a data scientist. Then analytics designer, that's the only part where you see any scripting. In all the other things, you don't see any scripting. Here you see scripting. Normally, this is then rather something which your IT department will handle. And then embedding means you can embed this analytics, what you build here, for example, you can embed in any other SAP tool. And here on the right side, I have the user groups. So business intelligence and planning can really be done by the business without interaction with IT or support from IT. Then depending a bit on your organization, I would say analytics designer might rather be in your IT department where they do something. And the, let's say, predictive and analytics designer, again, could be business, can be IT, but can also be some data scientist. And then the question is, of course, where is the data scientist in your organization? I've seen both. I've seen data scientists sitting in IT department, but I very often also see that the data scientists sit in a, let's say, maybe digital transformation office or in the business. So why do we believe the SAC is attractive? We could now talk 1 hour about this. I just picked here from a lot of discussions I had with group controllers, with CFOs over the last few years. I picked 6 out of it. One is, and this we cannot stress enough, it's, in my opinion, the only cloud solution available right now, which covers analytics, reporting, planning, predictive capabilities, and with vast features and functions. The tool is not finished. I mean, it's of course ready to use for over a year now, but there are a lot of new features continuously coming out. And I have, regardless if I do analytics or planning, I have the same touch and feel. That's very important for the users, also for the end users. It's always the same. It's not 3 different tools with one name over it. It's one tool. And then data acquisition, it's open to many data sources, if they are SAP or non-SAP, if they're on-premise or cloud-based. I have two main things. Either we read the data live from the source system, so it means there is no data loaded in the cloud, so all your data stays behind your company firewall, or the data is loaded into the SAC. That depends a bit on the application, depends a bit on the data source. Then number 3, enterprise readiness. That's also very important. There are a lot of tools out in the market which are perfect for a department, for 5 users, 6 users, lean, fast tools. But the moment you say, okay, maybe finance department in Switzerland, we have good success with it. Let's go global with the solution. And then quite often the problems might start because the tool is not that scalable. The licenses are suddenly expensive and so on. So SAP or with the SAC, you can really start with 1 user or 2 users and scale it up to 1,000 users. It will work. Your dashboard will work. You don't need to start reconfiguring your dashboards. You don't need to buy hardware. It is a cloud solution, so it's let's say it's the promise of SAP that you always have the same performance if it's 1 or 1,000 users. Then number 4, I mentioned now already a couple of times, it's user-oriented. And even the CFOs which didn't believe me this in the pre-sales phase, once we did a small project or a proof of concept, they said, okay, yes, we understand, we can build our own dashboards now. Licenses, these are just the prices which are published. Let's say that's the start for negotiations with SAP. Of course, depends a bit if you already have a contract with SAP, etc. But you can talk, we can support you here, of course, with the discussion with SAP. And number 6, also a very important thing for me, also when we buy something for CubeServ, is this product strategic for the company? Here, yes, it is. The SAC is basically in every other SAP application, there's a part of SAC in it. There's always statement of direction from SAP, and over they are confirming that the SAC is strategic for them. And last but not least here, SAP has the cash, or let's say has enough money in the pocket to keep developing the tools. We have right now, it depends a bit on the license you have. The normal license, you get every quarter, you get an update of the system. And then you can go on the fast track program where you get every 2 weeks, I think you get an update then, or 3 weeks. And there's also a very extensive, huge roadmap available for all the topics. So there's still a lot of new function features coming in. And I have worked quite a lot with the SAC the last 2 years, and I never had to rebuild any dashboard after an update. So the quality of this release changes is really very good, and you don't need to, let's say, do any rework. And here the main components of the SAC before we step into the live demo. Sorry, just to give you an overview. Of course, we have here on the bottom the data sources. Then we have a so-called model. In the model, depends also, the functionality always depends a bit on the connection or to the data source, if you import the data or if you have live data connection. But in the model, you can clean, you can customize, you can control, you can, for example, geo-enrich your data, you can build additional hierarchies in it, or custom calculations, and so on. So you have there a flexibility. If the source system doesn't deliver everything what you need, you have here a chance to work something or to change something. Then the story, for me, actually the heart of the whole tool, because the story is where you will do most of the work. You could also call it dashboard, but here SAP calls it a story, and the story has several pages, and this we will see afterwards in the live demo. And on top, there's a digital boardroom, which is optional. On the right side, I put a screenshot. The idea is to have at least 3 flat touch screens or big screens, touch enabled, where you can display your stories. And the idea in the digital boardroom is, you can imagine you might have a story for finance, you might have a story for controlling, for supply chain, for HR. They might have overview pages, and then they have deep dive pages, which maybe only the HR manager is interested in. But if you go to the board wants to see the overview page, so you can easily combine various pages into one presentation. You even have an agenda functionality. So the idea is really to run, for example, your meetings with the means of this digital boardroom. Then the arrow here on the side, I'm also going to show you this. If you don't want to worry about the model, let's say somebody sends you an Excel with some data in it, and you just want to analyze it in a tool and not in Excel, you can upload this Excel into the SACC, go directly to the so-called Data Explorer and start building from there your dashboards. You don't even have to worry about the model part. So let's jump to the live demo. So that's the start screen or the home screen of the SAP Analytics Cloud. You can configure this freely as you like. These are so-called widgets. These widgets come from different stories. They have different data sources behind. So whatever you like to see, you can put here already in your home screen, because maybe you say, okay, I'm always interested to see the first 3-4 KPIs. And I don't really always want to start the story behind. So that's a way to do this. So let me start now our analytic story. And I built this up in this way. I have sort of an overview. Here we have the pages. So all this is called story, and the story has now here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 pages. It can have 50 pages. It can have 1 page only, so that it's all flexible. What you see here, the background color, the fonts, all the colors, etc., is all freely you can customize. Here the recommendation is, before you start, try to work a bit on design guidelines. How should a numeric point look like? How do I want to have the scaling of the numbers, the fonts, bold, not bold, etc. And then build the first 1-2 pages, revisit this in an agile method to get a certain standard, because this will help you later on to build more pages. And yeah, you can imagine if you ask 5 people, you get 6 answers. What's nice? So that's always in the eye of the. Now I just don't know how to say it. It's whoever looks at it. One guy likes it, the other one doesn't like it. So apart from numbers, you have here some other options also. We have here, for example, RSS feeds, which are live connected. Then you can, for example, link to the homepage. That's also fully interactive. So that's a live connection to our homepage right now. Or what you can also do, you can just do link to an external site, to an external document. Here, for example, a success story with the Analytics Cloud, what we did for Villeroy and Boch. So that's apart from just displaying numbers and charts, you can also do things like this. Then if I jump here to detail page, you see it's reading the numbers. We have here, we can work with filters. Filters can be on the page, they can be on the whole story. That's also fully customizable as you wish to do. We have here waterfall charts. If you are familiar with IBCS or Hichert, you might recognize some of the displays here. And then I'll just like to then here, if you click on a widget, so that's a widget, that's a widget, that's a widget. If you click on any widget, you always get here this these 3 dots with more actions. And depending on the widgets, you get here interaction. I'm in viewing mode, so I'm not in the editing mode right now. So it's what the viewer sees. Depending on the data model, it already suggests you maybe you can do some comparison. You can add comments, of course. You can export it. You can show this in full screen. If it's maybe too small to see, you can go on to full screen mode. Pin to home, that's what it. That's when you want to see it on the home page, as I saw that before. And view control, that's maybe an interesting thing if you really want to know, so, okay, what's behind here now? I see, okay, I have here a page filter, which is for the whole page. This is the business area and profit center, and have an additional filter on the widget, which is time and the version. So I have here full, let's say, full transparency on what I look at. That's, I think, always important in reporting. Then on top right here, I have the edit mode. So if I click on edit, I'm now in the editing mode, and you can see the tool is a real, what you see is what you get. That's the view you have as a developer, or if you build your own dashboard, that's the view you get. So it's not like that you need a dashboard application or an on-premise application. You configure something, you do something, you deploy it, you go in your web browser, you look at it, you see, oh, I don't like it, you go back. So this is whatever you change, you see right away. So let's say we want to switch net profit and gross profit. So it's simple drag and drop, and you get these helplines, like we know from PowerPoint, for example. So some help for positioning it. And now let's say net profit, I like to manipulate a bit on this. So I go here on the top right in the designer mode. The designer has one is the builder, which means how do I put the content in, or how do I configure the content? So first, of course, I have here a data source. That's where my data is. Then I have here the chart. Here, right now, I have a numeric point. Then, depending on this chart here, the possibilities here or the options down here will adjust. So the system knows exactly what you can do, what you cannot do. So it will adjust here. So you can put here additional measures. It already recommends comparison, which you just can click and it works. You don't need to write a formula for that. The filters, so you can configure this. Then I have here the formatting part. So I can say, okay, I like to have here now on this widget, I like to have a background color. I want to have borders around my widget. The borders, yeah, let's leave it at this, but I like to have a red border. I want to have a bit more solid, and the corners shall not be, I want to have a radius on the corner. Then I have here actions, like I can overlay different widgets, that's possible. Then fonts, I can basically, every part here, I can put different fonts. That's what it shows here. But if I see now, I want to change all the text, so I can, let's say we take courier, right? It's adjusting. Then I like to have a certain size. I can work here on the color. I can do it bold. I have here the option to manipulate the number formatting. So I think it's all really sort of self-explanatory to work on that. And if I go back to the view mode, yeah, that's how it looks like. Okay, it's not nice. I don't like it, but I just wanted to show you how easy or how fast you can build and change things like this. And that's the good thing. Maybe you have a setup where the IT delivers a dashboard, let's say maybe a standard dashboard, and then based on that story, you can build your own pages, you can manipulate your own pages. So that's really, you can do it. You don't need to have, let's say, a change request to your IT, wait 3 months for the reply. Because if you like to change something, you just do it. Then here I have a full profit loss statement, hierarchies, of course, down to the level. Here I just want to show you can also, in the same hierarchies, you can choose different scaling formats. So here I said, okay, on the posting, on the account level, I really want to see the full figure. But here on the summary levels, I just want to see it in million. Of course, depending again on the underlying data model, I have the time hierarchies as well. Here now down to the months. If I would have days, of course, I could drill down to the days if that's needed. Then I can here do comparison, actual plan, or I can bring the forecast or previous month. So this is all configurable as you like to do it. Here waterfall again, if you have more engineers in your company, maybe that's faster to understand than the hierarchy on top. Here, for example, let's say the bridge from previous year to current year with the profit, how did this work out? Then, of course, the same we can do with the balance sheet. And as you can see, we have the balance sheet here, we have it here. So you have different sort of tables. So I look a bit at the time. There's so much functionality here. So let me just show this. This is spreadsheet features. So that's basically SAP went and said basically we develop Excel in the cloud. If I mark here one column, right click, I have different ways of calculations. If I mark two columns, I also get this again, add calculations. I choose now here subtract. So the system is building here, is coming up with the subtract. So that, let's say in a simple calculation, that would be now the costs. So if I go on edit mode and I switch on the formula bar here, I even see here on top left, I see the formula. And here I could now, if I want to do just a simple times 1.5, I can write Excel-like formulas and it's calculating here. I can, of course, also change here the title, and I can start adding here my own calculations. These calculations, these values here from costs, they don't go back. They are not written back anywhere. They are just here in the display. But of course, if you save the story, it will stay. Next time you call it up, it will be here. But you don't change any data model behind. I think that gives a very big flexibility. You also can hide columns just to do this. The same thing, you can do it here on column, but you can also do it on row level. It's the same here. For example, if I do it on the row level, subtract. So now it's basically subtracting February, March. So you have here the full flexibility to do on column or row level, add your own calculations, your own rows. You can also just add as empty row, etc. So that's, I think, very powerful. Value driver tree. That's also then part of our planning webinar, which is coming up in June. Just want to show you that's let's go into view mode. So that's just part of the account. So you can do manipulations here. And of course, you can combine it right away with your reporting. What I like to show you really before handing over to Christoph then, it's this. If you get an Excel and you just want to have some numbers in your Excel. So I have here now just a simple Excel, and I have two choices now, drag and drop. I want to prepare a model. No, I don't want to do that now. I'm feeling lucky today. Okay, let's drop. So what's happening now? This data, this is data from a telecommunication company in the USA, and it has churn data in it. So it's now uploading directly in the cloud, and the system will start in the Data Explorer mode. And the system recognizes automatically, let's say mostly, it does recognize what are measures, what are characteristics. So that's Data Explorer mode now. If I say, for example, monthly charges, I click on churn, so it makes a split. So I can deep dive here. I even have here the single customer number in it. And if I scroll here, I have lots of different characteristics or dimensions in it. And depending on what I choose here, if I choose here no, then it automatically filters here the other dimensions accordingly, so I don't get wrong choices. And then of course I can choose here also table. The system always suggests a perfect thing, but then I can start working here, and here I could, yeah, for example, if I have posting level documents, I could drill down to the posting level all in the cloud without doing any modeling. In the next webinar, Augmented Analytics, in May, I will continue on this one, and I will show you the part what is Augmented Analytics, and I will just ask the SACC to tell me a lot more about this data set, about the insights of this data set, and we will see how that works in an automated way. So of course I could,
Roland.
Sorry?
Yeah, thank you, Roland. I think it's a good idea to switch back to the slides, right?
Right, you should see the slide now.
Yep.
Okay. So I could just scratch on the top, of course, and it is a limited time. So if you'd like to see, of course, more of it, just let us know. Here, the conclusion before I hand over to Christoph. I think we can check a lot of boxes here. I hope you saw that's really a tool which you think you are able to work on your own with, say, a little bit of training, but it's not a 1 month training you need to do this. It is self-service BI, it's dashboarding, it's reporting, it's analytics. And I really think it can fulfill the needs of the business. It's for the business users, and it definitely delivers added value. So, Christoph.
Yeah, thanks again, Roland. As you mentioned, we will continue our webinar series with these topics for our finance and controlling customers. The next webinar will be on May 27th, and it would deal with the augmented analytics topic. And another webinar will then be on June 18th, dealing with the whole planning functionality that comes with SAP Analytics Cloud. And we will, maybe you should visit our website for some updates. We will continue this webinar series. Every week or so, we will post new webinars there. The next one outside of the series will be on May 5th. It will deal with cost center accounting and the CubeServ financial planner. Please feel free to join us there. So right now 42 minutes. So the planned session, the session was planned for 45 minutes. So we're good in time. Are there any questions? Before you leave the webinar, there will be a pop-up with a questionnaire, so we would be happy if you would give us some answers there to the questions we summed up. So since there aren't any questions, thank you very much from my side for joining us this afternoon, and I wish you a nice Tuesday evening, and I hope to see you soon, either in one of the webinars or on our other events within Switzerland. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.